Hello, IED students. We're working on building the different parts of the Carabiner Pen in Activity 226, so I'm going to show you a little bit about how we can make this ink cartridge. So we know it has kind of a clear tubing to it. The end has sort of a metallic ending that kind of comes to a little curved point like that, so we're going to talk about how we can create that. The metal ending does go slightly into the tube, and then there's, of course, some ink that is in it as well. So we're going to talk about how to do it. I'm going to try and make this tube first. So going to a new sketch, I'm going to put a new sketch on this right side plane, and I'm going to turn and look directly at it, and as usual, begin working on the center, right on the origin point there. The outside of the tube, I measured, had a diameter of 0.103, which gets pretty small. I'm going to go ahead inside of that. There, it's obviously opened up, and I measured the interior circle, had a diameter of 0.067. So that kind of creates that little ring there, and I'm going to extrude that ring, just the ring, by the length of the pen tube. So I'm going to extrude that, just that, so I just have the ring there, and the length of it I measured to be 2.128. And I'll finish that. So now I have the pen tube. Now I'm going to work on creating the metal tip to it. So I'm going to come back over here on this end where that origin is, and I'm going to put another sketch right on this plane, and I'm going to kind of look directly at it here. I'm going to tip it just a little bit. And I'm going to draw a circle. The metal part is circular, obviously, and I'm going to bring it out to the same dimension as that inner circle. And I know this has to go partially into the tube, so I'm going to extrude this circle here, and I am going to do this as a new part. I want it to be a new part because it's going to have a different material than the plastic over here. So I'm going to do a new part, and I am going to go 0.1 inches is what I measured. Got to tell it what region first, that part. I'm going to go 0.1 inches. I want to go into the tube, so I'm going backwards that way, and it is now 0.1 inches inside of there. And I am also going to, I know it comes outwards as well, so I'm going to click on that same part there, and it sure doesn't come out a whole inch. I'm going to tell it 0.205 is what I measured. And so now we have sort of that metallic ending that's coming out. Now what I don't have on it is that sort of cone-shaped sort of a tip. And so we're going to talk about how we would get that, including that little rounded part at the end. So to do that, here is what I've done on that. To get to the ending of that, what I did was I made a new sketch, and I'm going to make a new sketch. Sorry, I'm zipping in and out of here. Make a new sketch on the front plane. I'm going to look straight at it. I'm going to zoom way in here. And what I want is basically draw a line coming out here this way. So I'm going to get that line tool. And it's not connecting on anything here. And so what we need to do is I'm going to use what's called the use command, or the projecting command, and I'm going to project that line. And so that line is now on my sketch. And that's helpful because now I can grab that and I can kind of come downwards this way. And it is supposed to come out. Oh gosh, I'm going to have to look back now at my other. Here it was. Tip it this way. Okay, I came out 0.09 inches here, 0.082. Okay, so we're going to kind of We're going to kind of estimate that here a little bit. Okay, that was supposed to be 0.082. And we have another line that was coming out right from here. I think I had it at 0.09. And we're going to make that little rounded tip. And I know the rounded tip, I had a radius of 0.02. So I'm going to do this 3-point arc again from here to here. And I'm going to do a radius of 0.02. That looks completely off there. So what am I doing here? Let's go back and look at this. So I came out 0.09 inches total. Then we did a 0.02 radius. Okay, let's try that. Let's delete these guys. Okay. That's why I didn't mention that. 0.09. Okay, now get my 3-point arc. I'm just going to kind of roughly put it in place. We're going to put it at 0.02. And I am going to draw that line from here to here. We're going to make that 0.082. And that sort of gives me that little rounded look that I wanted. So I'm going to finish that. And now how will we create the ending? That's going to be a revolving tool. So we're going to revolve this space. And we're going to revolve it around itself. And there you can see that little ball point kind of show up now. Okay. So we have the basic pen created. I am going to take off some of these planes that are kind of getting in our view here. So we have that basic ball created there. I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's put some materials in it. So part number 1, I'm going to rename that and just call that the ink tube. And part number 2, I'm going to rename that. That is the ink tip. Maybe we can call that. And let's put some parts here. That ink tube, I'm going to assign a material to it. And let's call it, I think we're doing polypropylene is a guess at what it is. So we got that material. Let's also assign, give it an appearance here. I think I did it kind of that sort of very light gray, but you can also change the transparency of it. So I'm going to change the transparency a little bit. Now you can begin to see that metal part showing through there. And I'm going to go ahead and on that metal part, let's assign a material to it. I think this is probably some type of stainless steel. I'll pick A2 stainless steel. And let's give it a material or an appearance as well. I don't know, does that look good? That looks kind of good. And so it's a little darker than that. And now let's try and put in some ink in there. Okay, so what I would like to do is this. I would like to basically get in on that circular ending of the ink tip and just extrude another column of like red ink coming out of here. It's hard to get in there because the ink tube itself is all around it. And so here's a feature we can use. I can click on that ink tube and I can hide it. And so I haven't deleted anything, it's still there, but now I can actually create a sketch right on that. And I'm going to turn and look at it. And so basically I'm building the ink right now. I'm going to make a circle and I'm going to zoom way in. I'm just going to make it very close to what that tube actually is, or not the tube, but the end of that ink tip, that metal tip. Just going to put it pretty far out there. And so remember, I'm trying to create the ink now. So I'm going to extrude that out. And I did measure the cartridge I looked at, the ink I think the ink came out about 0.3 inches. So I'm going to make it go out 0.3. Maybe it was longer than that. I'll go 0.35. A little bit longer. We'll see how it looks here. But this is colored. And actually, now, do you see how this was actually, the way I did it, it's actually part of the ink tip. I do not want it to be part of the ink tip. It's not metal. So I'm going to go back here to where I extruded it, and instead of choosing add, I'm going to make this a new part within there. So now it changes its color, and now it's called part number 3. I'm going to rename that and just call it the ink itself. And so now I'm not going to give it a material because we don't have an ink material, but I will give it an appearance. I'm going to kind of make this the reddish ink. And if I want to see the whole cartridge together, I will go back and I will show the ink tube. And if we look at the whole thing, that ink looks like it's not enough ink. So you know what? I'm going back to here and I will extrude that out. Let's make a little more ink. How about 0.5? Maybe even longer. How about 0.75? That gives us some more ink there. And you can play with some of the coloring and the transparency of it, but there's an ink cartridge. Good luck making it.